Hi, I'm Lynette Xanders of Wild Alchemy. I'm a qualitative researcher, a brand strategist, a facilitator, a cultural recalibrator. I'm an author. I've worked for some of the biggest and best brands and agencies in the world, like A&J Gallo, ServiceNow, Adidas, Nike, worked for Wieden & Kennedy, Grady Britton, Sasquatch, I'm gonna say most of the agencies on the left coast, and Truth Collective in New York, obviously. I have worked for DDB, BBDO, Colin Weber, the Richards Group. I've learned all kinds of things about what to do and what not to do, and I want to share them with you. So today I want to talk about qualitative research and how to do it well, best practices. I will say this has been my bread and butter for my entire career, and it gets me out of bed in the morning. It is one of my most favorite things to do. It's having a dinner party with a couple people you don't know with a little bit of dinner, but good conversation. So how do you do it well? I've seen it done poorly and it breaks my heart. I think first and foremost, you have to be very considerate about who you want in that room, and they should be as homogenous as possible. So if you're doing a fishing expedition and you have this wide group of people to talk to, break it into small groups of similar people, because they will tell you secrets more likely if they are around people that they have things in common with and they feel safe sharing. I would keep them small. If I do them in person, it's 6 people max, because if you do the math in a 90-minute group, they get like 10 minutes each to talk. And if you have more people than that, you don't really get to the why they believe what they do, which is the point of the exercise. If I do it remotely, I do 5 people max, because it takes longer to call on people. A little bit like school, pros and cons of doing it remotely. I mean, the good news is they're in their sweats, eating their snacks, and they don't need daycare and parking and traffic haven't pissed them off. So they're in a better mood. I do love the vibe, though, of being in person, and you can share more techniques that way. But either way, small is key. I use a professional recruiter. I've used her for 20 years. I think she's the best in the business. But find a recruiter who looks for the best and the brightest. It can be fall into lazy really easily. And I hate to say this about facilities or research companies. They have a database. They grab people who are available. My recruiter takes them through key questions. I also ask a creativity question or 2. So if they can't name 5 things they can do with a brick, or how they would dress up as American Express at a costume party, if they can't or they won't, they can't come to my group. They're just not going to be helpful. So they have to play along, and they have to be able to think outside the box a little bit. I pay them more than industry standard. I want people like me to come to a group, and I'm not coming out or spending an hour and a half online for $100. I will easily spend $200, $250 per person for 90 minutes. I will get them to do homework or pre-work so that they've thought about it ahead of time. They're thoughtful, and they will give me some written insight that I can use to fill me in and to help presentations. As far as moderating, I think that is the secret sauce, I will say, because I'm a moderator and I think I'm pretty good at it. That's what people have told me. But I'll give you my top tips. When moderating goes wrong, you have too many questions that can't get answered in that space of time. So have 5 questions and no more than 5 big questions, because you're going to want to probe on each of those so that you really understand the hows and whys and what people have in common and what they don't. And we don't have to get consensus. This isn't about consensus. This is about feeling around for the areas of heat that could inspire an idea. And if you have to go validate it with quant later, then do that. But that's not what this is about. The other thing in moderating is ask your question and then stop talking. And most of the time they want to restate it, the question, they want to fill the space, they want to give too much instruction. Let the pregnant pause sit and let them come up with a thoughtful answer. So I just had new moderators that I teach, so just write it on your hand, stop talking. Smiling can be very helpful. It makes people more likely to want to engage and talk to you. I have questions in the intro that I try to get them to laugh. If you can get them to laugh, you win. It just kind of creates that space where they're likely to tell you secrets. I always call on the quiet ones first. There are going to be some people who love to talk and love to hear themselves talk, and you got to find increasingly strong ways to get them to, hey, Janet, I need you to go last on this one. Okay, thanks. So that you can get your quiet ones to talk. I have techniques that get them to tell you things that they didn't even know they were thinking. So look for my booklet on Agency Toolkit. Lots of techniques in there. And it's what I tell clients. So when you're listening for insights, I always take written notes. It's how I process. But I will write down a turn of phrase. I will write down something that twigged me that went, that is interesting. And I think years of practice is part of it. But I also feel for goosebumps. If I get a glimmer of a goosebump, pay attention, write it down. You can figure it out later, but you're going to find gold there. I listen for things that get people fired up, whether in a positive way or a negative way. Where there is emotion, there is an insight. And what I tell clients is listen for things that you're not listening for. Like, let it wash over you, and then you're going to find an insight. If you're just listening for a specific answer to a specific question you have, you may get it, you may not get it, but you've missed a whole lot of opportunity of learning about what makes these people tick and how to win with them. I'll give you a quick case study. And it's a fairly easy category to dive into. Salt and Straw is an ice cream company. And when I started with them, they had 3 stores. And I think now they have like 43. Part of it is the experience, where you go in and you can taste anything that you want before you choose. But it's also mostly, I think, they have the most unusual flavors you'll ever run across in your life. So dark cherry and bone marrow, basil and strawberry and balsamic ice cream. And it's amazing. But in talking to their best customers, Lions, watch the video on that, we were like, okay, it is ice cream. And there are a lot of ice cream stores, and there are a lot of fancy ice cream stores. And they're like, it's not about the ice cream, really. It's about the experience where there's always a line. And I'm like, you're going to go wait in line? And they were like, it's what we do instead of going to Starbucks now. We just know that standing in line is part of the process, and that we're going to have a conversation during the line. And then by the time we get through and get our ice cream, then bye, see ya. Thanks for spending the time with me. So that was part of the process. But they said it was the adventure of trying things that they weren't sure that they were going to like. And some of them said, hey, if I take somebody into Salt and Straw and they will only try the vanilla, we can't be friends. We're done. So it was the way they finally talked about it was that it was akin to travel. It was like stepping out of your comfort zone and trying something new. And more often than not, they found that they liked it. I've never tried lavender pear ice cream. Oh my God, now it's my favorite. So it was that kind of exploration and self-exploration and growth that I think made it stickier, sorry for that word, but a more impactful experience than just getting ice cream. So none of that, I don't think, would have been found with Quant. But I think the qualitative that we did was you get them to write a love letter to the brand. You get them to find an analogy for the experience. And those types of questions kind of help us tease out what we're really selling. So it's a magnetic virtue, which is not what you make, it's what you're really selling. So Harley Davidson makes motorcycles. They sell rebellion. Southwest Airlines makes cheap airline seats, which helps them be spontaneous. And being spontaneous gives them freedom. The magnetic virtue is freedom. You are now free to move about the country. Best tagline ever. Westin makes hotel beds, but they're really selling sanctuary. So their whole Zen feel, and now they're branding a smell around that Zen. So it's really looking for that magnetic virtue of not what we make, but what we're really selling, I think is where the magic lies. And that is what you as a researcher and a moderator, or even as a brand person doing research, needs to be looking for. So if you have questions around this, I have courses and videos and books and techniques. If you'd like some help with this, I would love nothing more. Please find me at wildalchemy.com.